He's not triggered by the slide for Vaughn comments. I don't know if people still say it. They used to say it, but you also mention a song. They'd be like, they be saying slide for Vaughn. I think they trolling me. Yeah, by the way, that song.
Listen, this Lil Durk situation is no longer just another rapper court case. This is turning into one of the biggest federal hip-hop trials we've seen in years, and every new filing makes the pressure feel heavier. Durk Banks, known to the world as Lil Durk, has pleaded not guilty, and legally, he is innocent unless prosecutors prove their case. But the government is not moving like this is a weak case. They are moving like they want to put the whole story in front of a jury. The music, the alleged beef, the travel records, the money trail, the phone records, and now, a wider racketeering theory. The original case was already serious. Federal prosecutors accused Durk of being connected to an alleged murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rondo after the death of King Von. That alleged plot ended with Quando surviving, but his cousin Saviah Robinson, known as Lil Pob, losing his life at a Los Angeles gas station in August 2022. Now, the case has grown even bigger, because reports say prosecutors added racketeering-related charges that let them frame the situation as something larger than one shooting, and that is the part that changes the temperature. A murder-for-hire charge is already life-changing, but when the feds start building an enterprise story, they are no longer just asking a jury to look at one night. They are asking the jury to look at a pattern. That is why the internet is screaming that Durk may be in real trouble, not because he has been convicted, he has not, but because the government keeps whitening the battlefield.
You feel like Chicago artists got to get out of Chicago?
Sure they do.
Why you feel that way?
Like a crab in a bucket. You know what I'm saying? But ain't no leaders out there that'll come tell you like you doing this wrong. They just looking like if they can make $1 off of you, they don't care if you die, go to jail, none of that, as long as they get their money.
Well, Kanye
no OGs.
To understand why the feds are telling this story the way they are, you have to go back to November 2020. That is the night King Von was killed in Atlanta after a confrontation outside a hookah lounge. Von was not just another artist in Durk's circle. He was one of the brightest names connected to that Chicago drill movement, and to a lot of fans, he represented the raw street storytelling that made OTF feel bigger than music. Federal prosecutors are using Von's death as the emotional engine of their case. Their theory is simple but heavy. After Von was killed, the pressure around Durk's circle allegedly turned into a revenge mission. They say Quando Rondo, identified in court documents by initials, became the target because of what happened that night in Atlanta. And when prosecutors build a motive like that, they are not just talking about sadness or anger. They are trying to show a jury why someone would allegedly spend money, move people across states, and take the kind of risk that could end in a federal courtroom. But here is where the story gets dangerous. Durk's team says OTF is a music label, a brand, a business, a way out for artists from Chicago. Prosecutors say something very different. They allege that OTF also functioned as an association where violence could be rewarded and loyalty could be proven through action. That is the fight at the center of this case. Is this a rap collective being criminalized or an alleged enterprise hiding behind music? That question is going to follow the jury from day one.
Hey!
So,
Hey, how you doing?
all right, what's going on, brother?
Good. I was just saying, what can you say about Lil Durk?
Now, he's the GOAT. The GOAT. The GOAT. The GOAT. The GOAT. That's all I can say. Yeah.
And what can you say about work?
The GOAT. 100%. We all working every day.
Now, who started the family? Who started OTF? Did you start the family?
The family started the family. Because how you gonna have kids? Grew up, had kids. Grew up, had kids. So we all started each other. This family started the family.
Started the family.
Yeah. We all started it.
And do-do-do-do.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Do-do.
Do-do.
Now, this is where the federal strategy starts to look bigger than one incident. Prosecutors are not just trying to tell the jury, look at what happened in Los Angeles. They are trying to tell the jury, look at the pattern. That word matters, because in federal court, pattern can turn a complicated story into a full-blown organization case. The government has already alleged that OTF was formed around 2010 and produced hip-hop music, but they also claim certain members and associates committed violence at Durk's direction or to maintain status inside the group. That is the kind of language that turns a record label argument into an enterprise argument. And once prosecutors get into enterprise territory, old incidents, old beefs, old alleged threats, old songs, old posts, and old movements can all become part of the larger picture they want the jury to see. Recent reporting says the expanded indictment also brings in racketeering-related allegations and references additional violence beyond the Los Angeles gas station shooting. That does not mean those allegations are proven. It does not mean Durk is guilty. But it does mean the government is trying to make the jury see the Los Angeles shooting as one chapter in a longer book. That is why the defense is fighting so hard. They know the danger. If the jury only sees one disputed event, the defense can attack the details. But if the jury sees years of alleged retaliation, money, status, street pressure, and music all tied together, the emotional weight of the case becomes much harder to control. And that is exactly the pressure point prosecutors appear to be pushing.
The apparent target of this deadly gunfire, a rapper from the Atlanta area. They say a pretty well-known rapper, too, in this area, along with a second person in his black Cadillac Escalade. This is right across the street from the busy Beverly Center on La Cienega. See all that broken glass there? That's where the Escalade is parked. They're getting gas when all of a sudden the windows are blown out by gunfire. They're under attack a few blocks away into West Hollywood. They wind up stopping over at Santa Monica and San Vicente, right in the very heart of West Hollywood. You know, over there by the sheriff's station, also by the West Hollywood Park. They pull over there because the wounds to the man who was hit inside the Escalade too severe. He's bleeding. They pull over. 911 is called. Paramedics rush in. They take the injured man who's...
The 19th of August, 2022, Los Angeles. A gas station near the Beverly Center area. That is the moment everything in this case keeps circling back to. According to the Justice Department, several OTF members and associates allegedly tracked, stalked, and attempted to kill Quando Rondo for hours before the shooting happened. Prosecutors say multiple guns were used, including a machine gun, and that at least 18 rounds were fired into the vehicle. But the person killed was not Quando. It was his cousin, Saviaya Robinson, known publicly as Lil Pab. That is the tragedy sitting underneath all the headlines. A young man lost his life in the shooting, prosecutors say, was connected to a revenge plot. And no matter how loud the internet gets, no matter how many people argue about Durk, OTF, Quando, King Von, or rap lyrics, that death is the center of the courtroom. The government says money and OTF-related finances helped move the alleged hit team from Chicago to California. Prosecutors also claim flight and bank records connect the travel arrangements to people close to Durk. One alleged message, reported by DOJ, warned not to book flights under names connected to him. That is the kind of detail prosecutors love because it sounds like planning, and planning is what turns a shooting into a conspiracy theory in court. But again, these are allegations. The defense will attack the meaning of every message, every payment, every trip, and every witness. The trial is going to come down to whether the jury believes those details prove direction, or whether they are being stretched into a story the government wants to tell. One of the biggest fights in this case has been over rap lyrics, and this is where Durk's defense actually landed some real punches. His lawyers argued that prosecutors leaned too hard on music, especially lyrics they claimed were connected to the shooting. The defense pushed back with affidavits saying one key verse had been recorded months before Lil Pab was killed. That is a serious point, because you cannot fairly say someone is celebrating a murder in a lyric if the lyric existed before the murder happened. That moment made the feds look vulnerable. It gave the defense a clean argument. This is art, not evidence. This is storytelling, not confession. This is the same fight hip-hop artists have been having in court for years. When does a lyric become proof, and when is it just performance? But prosecutors adjusted. They argued the case is not really about lyrics, it is about conduct. That shift is important. Because once the government says, fine, remove the weak lyric argument, we still have phone records, travel records, surveillance, witnesses, and other evidence. The defense cannot win just by saying rap is being criminalized. They have to beat the full evidence package. And that is where this case gets heavy. The discovery in a federal case like this can be massive reports, photos, videos, audio, digital records, messages, financial documents. A jury may never see everything, but prosecutors will try to select the pieces that make the alleged plot look clear. The defense will try to show gaps, exaggerations, unreliable witnesses, and government overreach. This is not just rap on trial. This is paperwork, timelines, and credibility on trial too. The courtroom battle over lyrics and videos became one of the most important early signs of how the trial might feel. Judge Michael W. Fitzgerald did not give either side everything. He blocked some material, but he also allowed prosecutors to use certain lyrics, screenshots, fan comments, and Durk's own public statements under specific conditions. That split ruling matters, because it means the jury may hear pieces of the culture surrounding the case, not just the physical evidence. According to reporting on the ruling, prosecutors wanted 13 lyric excerpts. The judge approved only some of them and limited others. He also indicated that screenshots from music videos could be enough instead of playing entire videos. That is a big distinction, because a whole music video can create a powerful emotional reaction. A screenshot is narrower, but it can still shape how jurors see the artist, the brand, and the alleged motive. The most dangerous part for the defense may not be the lyrics. It may be the public pressure evidence. Reports say the judge allowed fan comments from Durk's ex account and statements Durk made on DJ Academics' platform about pressure connected to King Von's death. That is not a fictional bar, that is public speech tied directly to the motive prosecutors are trying to prove. So yes, the defense won some battles, but the government kept some weapons. And in a case like this, the jury does not need to hear every lyric or every video. They only need to hear enough for prosecutors to argue that the pressure, the image, the streets, and the alleged actions all lined up. Now, let's talk about the cooked conversation, because this is where internet hype and real courtroom pressure start blending together. I did not find a reliable source proving that Durk's lawyer literally admitted he is cooked on leaked audio, so we are not going to sell that like it is verified. But what is real is the shift in pressure around the case. Durk's legal team came out swinging after the newest indictment. They called it lipstick on a pig and argued prosecutors were recycling old accusations under a broader racketeering theory because the original case was weak. That is not surrender. That is a defense team trying to frame the government's move as desperation, not strength. But from the outside, people read that two ways. Supporters hear confidence. The defense is saying the feds are scrambling. Critics hear danger. If the government can add racketeering and stalking conspiracy counts this late, maybe they are building something bigger than expected. That is why the internet is split. One side says, the feds are overcharging. The other side says the feds are tightening the net. Racketeering is powerful because it lets prosecutors tell a broader story. They do not have to make the jury look at one isolated gas station shooting. They can argue the violence was part of a larger alleged enterprise where status, loyalty, money, and retaliation mattered. That is why this charge is such a major development. It gives the government a wider frame, and it forces the defense to fight on more fronts. Durk still has the presumption of innocence, but the battlefield just got bigger, and bigger battlefields create more risk. So where does the case stand now? Durk has been in custody since his arrest in October 2024, and reports show his attempts at pretrial release have faced serious resistance. Judges have looked at the allegations, the claimed danger, the flight risk concerns, and the broader facts around the case, and so far he has not walked out before trial. There have also been fights over jail conditions. Reporting from court proceedings said Durk spent time in segregated housing after an allegation involving an unauthorized Apple Watch, and his lawyers raised concerns about the conditions. That adds another layer to the story. Because while the internet debates whether he is guilty or innocent, he is living the case day by day from inside federal custody. The trial date has also moved, partly because the case is complex. Federal murder-for-hire cases with multiple defendants, huge discovery, possible witness security concerns, and digital evidence do not move like normal street gossip. Every filing matters. Every delay matters. Every new charge forces both sides to rethink strategy. And then there is the jury issue. Prosecutors have pushed concerns around protecting jurors and witnesses, while the defense has argued that anonymous jury procedures could make Durk look dangerous before testimony even begins. That is a huge psychological battle. Before a witness speaks, before a video plays, before one text message is read, the jury's perception can already be shaped by how the courtroom is structured. That is why this trial is not just about what happened in 2022. It is about fear, image, credibility, and whether the government can convince ordinary people that the alleged enterprise story is real. Zoom out for a second, because this case is bigger than one rapper. This is about the collision between drill music, street reputation, federal prosecution, and the way hip-hop gets interpreted in court. Durk built a career in a genre where authenticity is currency. Fans want artists to sound real. Labels market the pain. The streets judge every bar. But once a federal indictment lands, that same authenticity can become dangerous. That is the trap. The culture rewards artists for sounding close to the streets. But prosecutors can turn around and argue that those same words, images, comments, and movements are evidence of motive or intent. Defense attorneys say that is unfair because rap is full of metaphor, exaggeration, character work, and survival storytelling. Prosecutors say they are not criminalizing art when the art connects to real events, real people, and real alleged conduct. That is why the judge's rulings matter. If a jury hears selected lyrics, selected screenshots, selected comments, and selected interview statements, they may not experience them as art. They may experience them as pieces of a puzzle. That is the danger for any rapper facing a jury that may not understand drill music, street language, or performance identity. At the same time, the government is not relying only on songs. They are pointing to travel, money, witnesses, messages, surveillance, and alleged planning. That makes the rap on trial argument powerful but incomplete. The defense can argue art is being misunderstood, but they also have to dismantle the non-music evidence. This case could become a warning sign for every artist who mixes real pain, real names, real beef, and public pressure into the same brand. So now the question is simple, but the answer is not. Can Lil Durk beat this? Legally, yes, it is possible. He has pleaded not guilty, and prosecutors still have to prove every charge beyond a reasonable doubt. That standard is not small. It is the highest burden in the system. The defense does not have to prove Durk is perfect. They only have to create reasonable doubt about the government's story. But let's keep it real. The case looks serious. The feds have had time to build. They have expanded the indictment. They are trying to bring in racketeering. They want the jury to hear selected lyrics, screenshots, fan pressure, and public statements. They are also expected to lean on records, surveillance, digital evidence, and witnesses. That is not internet noise. That is a federal prosecution with life-changing consequences. Still, federal cases are not won on vibes. They are won on proof. If witnesses contradict themselves, if timelines do not line up, if prosecutors overreach, if the defense can show music was misread or evidence was stretched, the jury may see doubt. And doubt is everything. But no matter which side people support, one fact cannot get lost. Saviaya Robinson is dead. A family lost someone. Quando survived, but his cousin did not. King Von's death still hangs over the story. Durk's future is on the line, and hip-hop is watching because this trial is about more than music. It is about what happens when street stories, public pressure, and federal evidence all meet inside one courtroom.